I just agree with the Norco over-the-door economy shoulder pulley. So basically, when you're looking at one of these, first of all, why would you want a shoulder pulley? It looks kind of fun to play around with if you got nothing else to do. Basically, this is all about shoulder flexibility. If you have a stiff shoulder, you have one shoulder you can't raise up as high, or say you had shoulder surgery, you just can't get that other, your surgical arm up as high as the other one, stiff shoulders, this is all about increasing flexibility, and that's really what you want a shoulder pulley for. You might be, now, if you have a super weak shoulder or an arm, like you can barely lift your arm up at all, then you might have a little bit of strengthening. This might help with strengthening, but short of that, this is all about increasing range of motion of the shoulder joint. So when you're looking at one of these, basically there's a couple things you really want to be aware of, so I'll go over those real quick. One is the handles. This one has plastic handles. The handles also come in wood or foam. And I think so when would you really want one over the other? Well, basically foam I think gives the best grip because your hands sink in and so it conforms to the handle and you can really pull and keep that grip pretty well. So if you're concerned about grip, foam would probably be a better choice. On the other hand, if you're worried about, like hygiene, like cleaning the thing off, keeping it clean, plastic, let's see, yeah, this has plastic on it. Plastic or wood would actually be something you'd want to choose. Like say if you're trying to get, if a bunch of people are going to be using the pulley, you want to be able to clean it off. And let's say, if you're buying this for like a physical therapy clinic or something, a lot of patients are going to be using it. You want something, you don't want any porous surface like foam handles. Basically you want plastic or wood because you can wipe them off very easily and keep them clean. So that's really why you would want one over the other. This does have plastic handles. The other thing is the strap, how it attaches to your door. There's two main ways these pulleys attach. One is a metal bracket that goes over the top of the door. There's really no issue with those other than if you're worried about scratching your door frame. So if you're really worried about paint chipping or wrecking your door, any cosmetic things like that, you probably don't want to go with a metal bracket. You would want to go with one more like this. This has a strap. Usually it's made of nylon. It's a flat strap, just goes over the top of the door and then you close the door. And here again, then you don't have to worry about scratching anything. So those are really the two main things. This is a very straightforward pulley, basic pulley, gets the job done. Like I say, mainly about shoulder range of motion. Now if you are concerned about, getting an optimally functioning shoulder, shoulder flexibility is only one thing. There's a couple other things you need to be thinking about doing. I'll get these, and I'll show you real quick. Bulletproof your shoulder is where I'm getting these from. So basically, you need a highly stable shoulder joint. Okay, so your shoulder is a ball and socket joint, and it's a very shallow ball and socket joint. Now that's unlike the hip, where there's a very deep ball and socket joint. And it doesn't really depend much on the muscles to keep it in place. This is unlike the shoulder, which really muscles really keep this thing firmly where it's at. I mean, think about it. You hear a lot more about shoulders being dislocated than you do hips. And that's one of the big reasons is because it's just a shallow joint. So to keep the ball firmly in the socket, we're talking about the muscles, and basically it's the rotator cuff that does that. Rotator cuff is really the main group of muscles. It's 4 muscles, and they really give you shoulder joint stability. So you want to make sure you have a strong rotator cuff. Plus, if you keep that ball firmly in its socket and you don't have any extra motion, that's a good way to treat like impingement syndrome or bursitis or arthritis, acromioclavicular arthritis, any of those kind of things. Because excessive motion in the joint due to not having a strong enough rotator cuff is going to just make that problem even worse. And honestly, that's a good way to cure impingement syndrome, period, is just with the rotator cuff strengthening. Okay, even if you have a really strong rotator cuff, the whole shoulder operates on a base. If the base is your shoulder, your scapula or your shoulder blade, so that's another thing you want to strengthen. And actually you can really do it with one exercise. These are all their little shoulder stabilizing muscles. So this will give you a couple exercises you can do to get those in shape. We talked about flexibility. There's actually about 4 critical motions that your shoulder needs to optimally function. So this will show you all the 4 of those critical motions. And if you've got those, then you're in pretty good shape. The last thing, a lot of people that have never heard of this, is proprioception. A lot of research coming out now that find that if people have shoulder problems, they have decreased proprioception. Now that's your position sense. That's how, like, if you're in a dark room, you know where if your leg is straight or bent, or if your arm is up in the air or not. That's because of proprioception. You have these little receptors in your joints that tell you the position of your joint. So they're finding, like I say, people with like stiff shoulders, shoulders that chronically dislocate, unstable shoulders, or shoulders that lack normal range of motion, rotator cuff issues. They're finding people have problems with proprioception, and all it takes is like one exercise. Anyway, just a few more tools for your toolbox if you're looking to get an optimally functioning shoulder. But if you're just looking for increase your shoulder range of motion, let's say you had shoulder surgery and it's kind of stiff, these are really handy to have around, and they're really easy to use. So definitely check it out.